I'm Patrick Bailey with whiteboardcoder.com. Today is July 25th, 2017. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install and use a tool that I put on GitHub that allows you to send messages to a Slack room. Okay, first of all, you need to install a tool called Incoming Webhooks in one of your Slack apps or integrations or whatever they're calling it now these days. And you need to have admin privileges to your Slack channel, to your Slack subscription, whatever. So to get there, you go into Slack and you would go down to Apps and Integration, which should open a web page for you. I'm assuming you don't have this installed. And you can go to, Manage. And then go into your apps. And right now you can go into Custom Integration. And I've already got mine installed, so there's an incoming webhooks. Otherwise, you could probably search for it. Not going to find it, huh? Did not find it, huh? Okay, I'm not sure how to find it because I've already got it installed. Anyway, so you need to install or add incoming webhooks. It's a custom integration. And I'll go in here and open it up to show you how to configure it. There's not much to it. So once you're in here, I'm going to edit it. And so there's not much to it. So you can actually change. There's usually a default room it goes to. But you don't need to be concerned about that. That's just the default room. You can override that. And right now, just go into General. And what you're really concerned about is what's going to happen here, the webhook URL. That's what you need. And so I'll click here and regenerate it. So I'll make a new token just for this video, and I'll make a new one later to replace it. But now that's my token. So that's the URL I need to pass a JSON to. And so I'm going to copy that off just so I have it. And so now that I have this on, I have a new webhook URL. It should all be set up. I can go into my general room right now, and you can see nothing's going on. And actually, I can do a curl, and I can post to that webhook and post a message. So I'm going to do something really simple. I've done this before. I can go in here and set a header. Let's see, content type application JSON X. Because we got to do a post, -D. And then what we're going to do is we can actually put the JSON format here, which I'm not going to go over in great detail. I'm just going to do a very basic one here. Text, metric, test. This is a line. And you can also put line returns right in here. This is the next line. And I'll leave it as that. And then you need to pass it in that webhook as location we're actually going to post it to. So I'll just copy and paste that. And as I hit enter, I should get back to OK. That means it got sent. And there you go. There's my message. Patrick test. So the incoming webhook is working. And I can pass messages all day long. So I can just keep sending the same message again. I think there is some theoretical limit, but it's pretty high, so you're pretty safe. But that's just it. So you got if you have your incoming webhook set up and you got it working with a curl and you know it's there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is download the tool I've made and show you how to use it. Okay, let me clone this down. So I'll just go to my temp directory just for testing purposes. Oh, I already have it in here. Let me remove it. Okay, so I'm going to go clone it here. So let me go. Here is where the tool is, and I'll put this link in my show notes. So it's at patmandenver/slack-webhooks. So I'll just go down here and I will clone it. Simple enough. Do the clone, paste that in, pull down what I put up there. Okay. And what I have done here is just put a simple structure in here. So if I go into, in this case, user, sbin, there it is, Slack webhook. That's all it's there. So if all you have as a need is you just want to take, it's just a bash script. So if you just want to take this bash script and put it somewhere and use it, you can use it. The only thing you would need to do, if that's your only thing you're going to do, is you would go in here, open it up, and you need to update the Slack URL. And so you just come in here and copy and paste your incoming webhooks URL. Copy it. Come on. So just copy and paste that in there, and then save it. In this case, I can just run it from here right where it is. Now, if I run it like this, it should tell me the usage. And so I really just need to fill one. There's a lot of defaults in there, and you can see I've set all these defaults in there. So I can kind of do just something really simple. Just do a message. And in this case, it should, the actual room it actually defaults to is not the room that you intend it to. It doesn't go to general or whatever room you said. It'll actually go to DevOps. So let me override that as well, and I'll go to general. So now I should see that come through. And it did. So there it is, my message. Let me try it again. And you'll see the default, you'll see the icon changed. Because I chose to, the icon you can use here for that user, you can kind of make a pretend user that's sitting it. In this case, you can set an emoji. And so just to be safe, I chose the Slack emoji, which should be included. And that should be Slack. Yes. And so you can use any emoji you want and put it in there. So I could use, I don't know, what's an emoji? Curl up. Smile cat. Let's try that one. So I come here and do, I can set an emoji and say smile cat. And now it's going to come as a smile cat. Now that is important. Why is that important? It is important because it's very useful to set those emojis, because if you have things talking to Slack that are posting messages automatically, like a Jenkins, you can put a custom emoji in there, like a Jenkins, and then you can reference it. Which brings me to a good point. How do you do custom emojis if you're not used to it? Well, if you're not used to that, you can go down here and go down to Customize Slack. And that should open up a page here. And then this is pretty simple. You just have to upload an image file. It can only be 128 by 128. And then you give it a name, and then now those are available. So I put a lot in here. So I have Jenkins, NyanCat, OpenStack. I have a lot that I've used in the past that are useful to me. So you can put any kind of customization you want in there. So just to show you, I've made one, and I'm going to grab one. So I made an image, Lemon Grab, from Adventure Time. And I'll call him Lemon Grab. And I'll save him. Save Lemon Grab. So now he should be out there. Another thing I was doing a search for icons, and I learned something new that you can do. When you're searching for images, I'll do Fiona this time. You can actually go down here and you can go to Tools, and you can come down here and you can actually go exact. I know you could do different sizes. I didn't know you could do exact. In this case, it needs to be 128 by 128. So you could pull an image down and edit it, but just for convenience sake, I just wanted to find something quick. And so I found, well, my Fiona disappeared, didn't it? Sometimes it's hard to find. Ah, there you go. This one looks kind of cool. So I'll just drag that one off onto my desktop. And I'll add that one because that's pretty cool looking. So I'll go to desktop. You say avatar. There you go. Open that guy up, and I don't want to be Lemon Grab, I want to be Fiona. So I'll save that. Sorry for the sidetrack on the emojis, but I think putting custom emojis on are actually very important, not just for fun. So now I can do, as a test, just make sure they're working. Lemon Grab and Fiona. And I see they just show up small, but if I go over here and refer to a message, and I do Fiona, it should show up a little bit bigger. No, not by much. Well, enough though. Maybe it is the same size. Maybe just imagine. Okay, we can do Lemon Grab. Oh, well, now you're not going to see it because there are two messages in a row. Okay. There we go. There's Lemon Grab, which, okay, I thought it'd be a little bigger, but I guess not. Need to probably tweak on that. Okay. And so that's one way you can just use this tool, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it, and I'll probably get into that. Well, let me show you. Without going too crazy into it, I try to make it easy to edit. So on here, at the end of the day, there's only two kinds of messages it sends. There's a single message and a multiple message. And so the single message, here's the JSON. Go for it and tweak it to your heart's content and make something different. But if you're only sending a single message, you'll go through here and you can tweak it pretty easily. And the second one's a double message, and that will actually have two messages side by side. And so you can tweak that. And so all you do is take this, tweak it a little bit, and use it. Or not tweak it if you like how it works. So I can go over here. Let me show you, do the help again. And so if I do this, I do a message, first message. I can also do you can also do a title. This is server down. Server down. And you can also do I'll do a room. We'll do general again. And I could do message write. If you have a message write, you'll have two messages. You have one side by side. And you can put returns in here. Okay, that should work. So that shows up, and you get my second message. Message write. Okay, I messed up something there. Maybe I need to tweak my code. Okay, that was my bad. I forgot how I wrote my tool. So if I'm trying to do things with two messages, I forced it to have a title write. If you want to do a message write, so I had to put that in there too. That's just the way I wrote it. So I had forgotten. So if I pass that message in now, well, we see it actually splits it. You can have two different messages side by side. And so that's I found that to be really useful for doing lots of things. Because you get all this little extra information that you can do. And you can put returns in there and all kinds of fun stuff. Anyway, it gets a little messy if you're trying to do that command line as you're seeing. Anyway, okay, now we've got all that. So let me do what we'd really do. Let me go back here and edit this, or what I'd really do. Now, the other way to do this is to leave this as is. Well, maybe tweak, if you want to tweak the rest of it, tweak the rest of it. But right now, I've got a build script that looks for this update me here. So I'm going to leave this as is, and you can see it's in user sbin, which is where I typically would intend to install it. So let me go down here, and right here I've made a build file. So you can go into build, and here there's a build script. And this is for Ubuntu. It'll build a Debian package. And if I go into this build, the only thing you need to do is go into this build and update this Slack URL. And so you come down here. Well, actually, you can try to run it. You do sudo build. It'll yell at you. Or actually, you can just do a build. If you do a build, it'll yell at you that you need that variable. And so it forces you to go update it. Let me go update it with what I have. There we go. Okay, now I'm trying to do a build. It should yell at me again because it needs to be sudo, only because I need to actually change things to some root privileges as I'm building it. This build does not install. It just builds files. Okay, so we build this out. It builds everything in there. Really, it's just going to stick this inside, and it's going to stick in a place where it's going to end up in user sbin / webhooks if you install it. And then I put some little convenient command here, convenient commands that it shows you at the end here. So I can copy and paste that, and it'll show me what's contained in this Debian package as far as files, and you can see all it is that Slack webhook. And over here, it'll show you how to install it, just real quickly. And so now, boom, I'll install it. And I've installed this version that has my Slack webhooks, my the actual webhook URL in there. So now I should have a Slack webhooks tool. So I can run any command like that from any tool. just for convenience. And there we go. We didn't have that. If you want to show up because it was new. Oh, it's going to DevOps. All right, now it's going to the DevOps room. Go ahead and specify the room. There we go. So now that's working. Okay, so that's working, and so that's how you install it. So my intention for this tool was that you could tweak it a little bit however you want, put in your Slack webhook URL in there, and then build it, and then now you can install it as a Debian package. And then that way you can distribute to your systems if you want other systems to kind of use it locally to pass information around. And that's kind of convenient. Also, you could version it. Let's see, if I go to this build.sh, here it's 0.8. But if you wanted to version it for some reason, if you built this and deployed it and wanted to keep versioning it, I think the version is right there. So you could keep increasing this and rebuilding it. There's not much to it. It's very simple. But I thought it'd be a nice tool to use for those reasons, and I've been using it. Okay, so that's how you install it. That's how you use it. Next, I'm going to show you an example. I put some examples in the Git repository to show you how to do some interesting things with systemd, so that on reboot, it'll actually post a message to your Slack room. Okay, so back to my repository. If you go into examples, I put some examples in here just to start off with. Also, I put some custom emojis in here that I use a lot. So there's an AWS emoji, there's an OpenStack emoji, there's a Jenkins emoji, and those are very useful. And so those are there to be used. And okay, so I'm giving that as an example because I'm actually using them myself in my examples. So now if I go in here and go into systemd, I made 3 different examples. I have a simple and an environmental file, and then one with an simple, and then an exec start pre, and then an environmental file. Because I'm still trying to get myself up to date on how systemd works. So I'm trying to make some interesting systemd stuff. I put some notes in here. So what you got to do is you can actually go in here and it tells you what to do. So I can go down, I've got this here locally. So I can go to temp, Slack Webhooks, examples, systemd, start stop, simple. And in the README, there's some just notes. So all you got to really do is you can copy that systemd file over. Maybe I should show you first. Let me show you Slack. So here's the file. And all it's going to do is it's waiting for the network to start, and also it goes before shutdown. It has a conditional file. It needs that Slack webhook, of course, to run. And it's a one-shot. And then what this does is when it starts, it'll run this command. When your system starts up, it'll run this command. When it stops, it runs this command. And all that's going to do is basically send a message to your Slack room basically saying, hey, I've started up, or I've shut down. And it's a very simple message. But it's effective. And I've used it before with different companies I've worked for. We put something like this. This is an improvement of what I've done before. But we put something out like this on the machine. So when the machine started up, we got a message in a Slack room. When it went down, we got a message in a Slack room. Usually a verbose Slack room. Because it's not a warning, it's not an issue, but it's nice to have that information when you need it. Okay, so that's the guy. And I'll come over here and I'll copy this and paste it. So now it's going to copy that file into my systemd. And then what I want to do is I want to enable it. And so when I enable it, enable it will not run it, but it will enable it to run when it starts and stops on a reboot. And so we enable, and there we go. And we should be good. And there's some notes on here on how to install emojis, which I just went over. So now I can do a sudo system control. I can do a restart. I think restart will work. I can do start stop example. Restart. Restart. Let me try stop. I'm trying to simulate a reboot, which I did the other day, and I had to do reload. I forget. Well, anyway, I can just do a restart. So now this should go to my DevOps room. And we're in my DevOps room, and I'll do a reboot. And there I go, shutting down. And then in a second here, I should get a message starting up. There we go, starting up. So now I know it started up. Okay, and so that's working. So if I can reboot, I'll just keep getting those messages to start and stop. Now I want to show the more complex ones, and there's two. And this is more kind of showing off some ideas how you can use this tool, and also more kind of showing some interesting things you can do with System D at this point. So the next level up is exec start pre. And so I will go in here, and I will remove the old one. Let's see, lib system start stop. No. And what did I call that? It's amazing you forget in 2 seconds. Slack. How about Slack? There we go. Then we go into temp, Slack. Oh, it was a temp, so it's gone. But I have the Slack. I have another directory that happens to have it locally here. So I'll go into examples, go into system D, start stop, exec start. There we go, exec start pre. And then we'll look at this. Now this changes things a little bit. So now let me go into the service that I intend to install. And this one's a little more complex. So similarly, it's one shot. We're looking to make sure that the webhook is installed. And same thing, this is going to run right when it shuts down. And right when it shuts down, before shutdown, and right after it starts up, basically when the network's up. It's going to run as root, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look for this environment file. Wait, did I jump ahead? This seems a more complex one. Yep, that's the more complex one. Let me go back. This is the more complex one. Environment file, let's try that one. That's the simpler one. So now if we look at Slack notify, okay, same thing. It's going to execute right before it shuts down and execute right when it starts up. And here we go. So it's going to be run by root. In this case, it looks for, you can set environmental variables inside of your system D. So in here, I can set an environmental variable and say room equals general. And then down here, when I use this, room will equal general. What you can't do is you can't execute commands inside system D, inside this configuration. It's only going to take what's actually set. So in this case, I'm just going to actually set everything by hand. So I could sit here and just list every single environment variable. I could come down here and say, you know, emoji, since I have emoji Fiona. And I could set each individual one, but I'm not going to. But I'm effectively going to, because what I can do, instead of doing that, I can refer to an environment file. I can say, get my environment variables from this file. Another thing you can do is you actually can put a negative in front of this. And if it's negative, that'll say, if this file is not there, please still continue to run. Now in this case, I actually need the file to be there. Otherwise, what's going to be run is very useless. And so here's the command on start and command on stop. Same exact commands, but they're getting their information from the environment file. Right? Slack environment file. And there's the difference. So here is the message is the same. Message and message. Yeah, that's not good. I need to fix this example, I think. Okay, so now I can go look at the Slack environment variables, and there they are. Just my message, simple as that. And now what I need to do, and it's referenced here in the README, is I need to copy those things over. So I'm going to copy, of course, the systemd service over. And then I'm going to copy over, then I'm going to enable it, so it'll actually run on a reboot. And then I'm going to make a directory, because that's actually where it's expecting my environmental file to be, is an etc slack webhooks. So I'll make that. Oh, well, in my case, it already exists. So let me remove it. I'll make it again, and then I'm going to copy that environmental file over. Okay, so now we should be set up. So everything should be referenced correctly, and if I go and look at that file, look at the systemd, if I go in here and look, it's looking for this file. I'll do a double check to make sure that's the file. It's in the right place. Do a cat. Yep, it's in the right place. It all looks good. So now I'll do a reboot. And we should see those messages pop up. But in this case, this one actually has a split message. So there's a left title and the right title and more information. Now, also in this case, you probably want to tweak this if you're, well, you obviously want to tweak this. You actually want to tweak the, the systemd script, because in this case, the systemd script, the messages are the same whether you're starting up or shutting down. And so you could go into the systemd script and have different variables for startup and shutdown for the messages, and then set those in the environment file, and that would work. So there we go. We're started back up again. Let me go log in here. Okay, so now if I want to do that, I'm not making myself clear. Let's see, Slack. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. System. If you wanted just a simple set environmental file and you were going to do it this way, you probably want to change, your room and your user emoji would probably be the same. Your title would be, you probably want to change this to something like title start, message start, and then title shutdown or something, message shutdown. Okay, my last example and the fun one. So the one that's more real that you actually use is this exec start pre. And so here's the information on it, and I'll start going through it over here. And this is a little different. So what we have to do is, since we can't, anything in an environmental file or environmental variable locally here has to be static. But it doesn't say that this file can't be created on the fly. Now in this example, I actually did a negative here, which I really don't need to. I just did for some reason. But what I want to do is actually, before I run my exec start, there's an exec start pre you can put in. And basically this says, run this before you run exec start. And so I have another script called slack start create environmental file. And that will actually create the environmental file that this is going to load and use. So pretty useful. Now we're going to do the same thing when we stop. However, when we stop, there is no exec stop pre. There's just exec stop, and they're just kind of run in order. And so what you can do, so it's just going to run effectively an exec start pre, I guess. It'll just run this, which will create a new Slack environmental file, and then run it and pull the variables in. Simple enough. If I look at one of these, CRUD Environment. Now what this is doing, it gets a little more complex because we're starting to grab interesting information about the hard drives and setup that we have here. And so now you can just start running commands. In this case, I'm getting the IP address locally, the memory information, host name, and I'm getting some information about the drive. So some pretty cool information. And then I'm setting those to variables. Then I'm appending those as variables in the environmental file. And so here it is, passing the room in first and creating this file, overwriting what's there, and then I'm just appending the information. So interesting enough. So now to get that installed, we just follow the same thing that we did here before. Copy that up. And enable it. And then I need to make that Slack webhooks guy. Let me see. We'll remove it first. And then we'll make it again. And in this case, we're not going to put the environmental file in there because we don't have one. It's going to be created on the fly. We're going to put these two scripts in there. The Slack start and the Slack stop. So I'll copy that up. I can actually copy. There. I'll just copy them. Etc. Slack webhooks. So copy them over. They should be good to go. That guy's enabled, and so this should just work. So let me do a sudo reboot. Let me check my messages. And this, I think, goes to DevOps the way it's set up. Now let's see if it works. There we go. Server shutting down. Cool. So now we got a lot more useful, interesting information. So now I put in there server shutting down. This is the actual name of the server. It's the host name. It's the actual IP address, the current memory size. And then here, it's not very fancy, but I have the drive status. And so here's the status of all the drives on the box. Now in this case, there's always extra drives in there. So it gets a little bit annoying. But you can filter that information down. There we go. Now we start it up. And so the same thing, I had the drive status, but you could put whatever you want in here that may be more useful information to you. But also what I did, I think I left an example in there of a filter. Yeah. Let me go etc. Slack. And so there's my two scripts, and you can see there's my environmental file that was made on the fly. But let me go into start. And right now both these files are basically the same file. One just says start, one says stop. But I separated them because you might want different information. Okay, do I have an example in here? Yes, I did that. So here, we're just doing a df-h and we're getting the information down. But I actually have a more interesting... if you don't want all that information, which I don't, but everybody's system is different, so I didn't want to give an example that's not going to work in everyone's system. This one's a little more interesting. So what this one is, should filter it down. Let's see, yeah, this will filter it down. We'll get the first line. It kind of runs it. I did it line by line, not the most beautiful thing, but in this case, you can right there. There we go. That's going to get the whatever's mounted on the slash drive, whatever's mounted on the dev drive, and so you can just kind of keep adding lines as you want. So I'll just save this. It's only on the start, so only the start should get that information, and the stop should be the same. So let me go reboot. And shutting down. So the shutting down is the same. Makes sense. There you go. So now we only have the two drives. So that's a simple way to filter that down. Let's see. I think that's about it. Other interesting thing I probably want to mention, in case you don't know, let me go run a Slack webhook. Try and test. I should go to DevOps. There we go. You actually can put URLs in here. And they should show up just fine. And then so you can link to them. Also, you should be able to... let me see if I can do it. If I can remember how to do it. I'm going to do this wrong. Also, you can, some of your links might get too long. There's a way where you can filter them down and assign them to a variable. And that's not it. I think that might be it. No. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, let me go look it up. That's kind of a cool feature. Okay, I figured it out, and this is really useful, because what you can do is anywhere you have a URL, you can just enclose it in brackets like that. And then what you can do is put basically a pipe in here, any kind of name you want. Test me. And what that's going to do is associate that URL with whatever text you put in there. So if I do that, it should show up, and there it is, test me. So now I can click on that and it goes to Yahoo. And you might think that's pretty simplistic, but oftentimes I've used this in places I've worked where you have like graphite or different things like that. We have really, really long URLs that are not descriptive. And so we would do something with Sensu or some other monitoring system that would send a message to here, and this would say, rather than have that big long thing which just kind of trails off and makes the message look really weird, or sometimes I think it cuts off too. We'd just say, graph 1 or system graph. And so we'd have a warning or something come up, and there would be a link to more information. And it'd be very obvious and what it was. And so you can actually put several in here. So that's a really useful feature. Other thing I forgot to show, which I should have shown at the beginning, is in here there's also a feature. Let me see. Look at the help again. Called level. And so that's your level of warning. So there's level, and so the normal level is info, but I can say good. And good's going to get me green. Just kind of a nice feature to have. There's good, warning, not warning, warning, and critical. And so it should be green, yellow, red. Just a nice feature to have. I found it useful. So anyway, that's kind of probably too long of a video, but that shows you how this tool works. It shows you some interesting things you can do with systemd, and tweak it, change it to how you want, but made a nice little build package so you can make it part of your system if you want to. But tell me what you think. Anyone going to use this, or you like it, or... But anyway. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @whiteboardcoder.com. View any code I may have thrown up as a gist at GitHub under the username PatmanDenver, or check out my blog site at whiteboardcoder.com.